This begins our lectures on section 2.5, which is ratios, percentages, and multiplication and division of real numbers. Our objectives are going to be to find the ratio of two quantities, meaning of a percent, conversion of percents to decimals and decimals to percents, and finding percentage of a quantity, and then multiplying and dividing real numbers, and knowing how that relates to looking at fractions in different forms. So our first topic is ratios. And ratios is a quotient of two numbers when the divisor isn't 0. A ratio is stated as A is to B using a colon, or A is to B as a fraction, and always B does not equal 0. And another way of reading a ratio is A times as many A quantities as B quantities. This is a very useful way when we think in terms of a unit ratio, which we'll see in just a little bit here. Okay, so we need to first of all look at some facts about ratios. Ratios, number one, are always written as a whole number to another number, although it may not start out in that form. We always need to simplify a ratio and put it in its lowest terms. We know what that means from fractions. And a fraction must always be the quotient of two whole numbers. And the ratio is never simplified to a whole number or to a mixed number. We do sometimes think that, oh, that'd be okay, but we want to make sure that we don't do that. The next thing that we do is we want to write a ratio correctly. So in order to write a ratio correctly, we're going to write it one number divided by another number. And then we're going to divide out all the common factors, and then we're going to rewrite it, making sure that it's written as one whole number to another. So let's take a look here at example number 21. So in example 21, we have 5 is to 15. So I'm going to write that like a fraction. So 5 is to 15. And then I'm going to take out the common factor of a 5. And this is exactly the same thing as reducing a fraction that we saw before. So taking out the common 5 there like that, and now we see our ratio is 1 is to 3. Now it's perfectly acceptable to leave it like that, but if you rather write it as 1 is to 3, the way that it was written to us in the first place, that's okay as well. Now our next one says 30 is to 210. So 30 is to 210. And again, we're going to take out those common factors. This common factor this time is 30. So we're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 30, and that's going to give us our ratio. So we have a 1 to 7 ratio in this case. And again, you can leave it written like that, or you could write it as 1 to 7 as we originally saw it written. So either way. Now the next one here we have is an example number 22. In example number 22, we're going to see it written as more of a word problem, a real-world application problem. So what is the ratio of the perimeter of the room to its width? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write perimeter to the width. So you start out by writing it in words, and then from there we can take this into the numbers. So if the room is a rectangle that is 10 feet long and 9 feet wide. So we see that we have a rectangle here that is 10 feet long and 9 feet wide. So we know that the perimeter then is going to have to be a problem where we find perimeter is equal to 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And then from there we can finish off our problem. So we have perimeter here, which I'll call a P, over the width here, which I'll call a W. And then we can actually put in the numbers 2 times 10, and then plus 2 times 9, and then over the width, which is 9. And from there we can get the answer, 20 plus 18, which is 38, to 9, and that is our ratio, 38 to 9. And that'll